It looks like the Biden administration has inadvertently given a gift to Alibaba Cloud. And so that's something that I want to cover in this video. And so guys, as you smash that like button, let me run that intro. What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now what's happening is the chip ban continues to increase in scope, but what that does is I actually think that causes Chinese companies to get a little bit stronger. And specifically in this case, I think the latest expansion of the chip ban, or the Chinese chip ban, actually is a very good news story for Alibaba. And this is what I mean. So you can see that as part of restricting China's access to chips, what they're doing is they're effectively closing a loophole which restricts China's companies to access cloud computing that's provided by American companies like Amazon, Alphabet, and Microsoft. And so, you know, they say it right here: Biden's administration's proposal aimed at closing the loophole in chip export controls. In my opinion, they're right. It could escalate the tit-for-tat fight with Beijing. Now, this past weekend, there actually has been more news on this, and so I'll release a separate video on this tit-for-tat, which I think is going in the wrong direction for these two countries. But I just want to focus on this particular aspect of the overall story for this video. So the Wall Street Journal goes on to say that the Biden administration is preparing to restrict Chinese companies' access to U.S. cloud computing services. Now, this is coming from people familiar with the situation, so just be careful when you read these types of stories, because there is no named sources. Now, if the new rule is adopted, it would likely require U.S. cloud service providers like Amazon, Microsoft, and Alphabet. I don't know why they didn't put that, because Alphabet's I would say they round off the top four. Alibaba's the other one, but they're obviously Chinese, and these three are American, to seek U.S. government permission before they provide cloud computing services. And so, you know, this follows other measures that they did, and you know, part of it is the CEO of NVIDIA is saying that, look, this is going to actually hinder a chip development overall or into the future. And he's absolutely right, because when you reduce markets for these chip manufacturers, these chip designers, actually, it does stunt the overall industry. But in this particular situation, here's the thing: Chinese cloud development is not going to stop. The cloudification of industries is going to continue. And so if you just reduce access to American vendors, they're just going to use a Chinese vendor. And yes, the chips might not be as fast. The data warehouses might not be able to hold as much data as some of these larger providers in the US. However, it spurs Alibaba to invest more capital into the business. And of course, they're doing it because they're getting more business as they essentially own the market. Yes, there are other entrants into the Chinese cloud space, but Alibaba is still the leader. And so, you know, it just reduces competition overall for the company. And for the investors in Alibaba, this looks to me like it's a good news story. And just to provide you guys with a little bit more detail, you can see here that the proposed restriction is a means to close a significant loophole. And the loophole is that customers can actually right now gain cloud computing capabilities without purchasing advanced equipment, including the chips. And so if any Chinese company wanted to access the NVIDIA A100, they could do that from any cloud service provider, which is totally legal. And so yes, the cloud department is expected to unveil the action within the coming weeks as part of the expansion. But the point that I make is it just spurs Alibaba to create a chip as strong. Look, can they do it? I don't know. But will they be trying? Absolutely. They're going to be trying harder now. And I do believe that they're going to have access to more capital as they're getting access to more consumers, because these consumers are being taken away from the American providers. Now, my question is, in China, how much market dominance does Amazon or Alphabet or Microsoft really have? I'm not sure. So in terms of materiality for this, I don't know how significant the materiality really is, but what it does mean, or what it does speak to, is the fact that as the Chinese cloud market continues to develop, it's going to develop without access to the biggest players in the US, which means that somebody has to step up in China, which I believe is going to be Alibaba. And this here is a bit of an older chart. This is from Alibaba's 2021 Investor Day. They didn't do an Investor Day last year in 2022. I hope they do one this year in 2023. I mean, maybe each of the individual entities as they split up might do one. Who knows? We'll see. But, you know, cloudification in China is not stopping. And I believe that once again, this is going to make the Chinese company stronger, and Alibaba is at the forefront of this as China's largest cloud service provider. And so you can see that China is expected to grow at a rate faster than the US, and really that's just because they're coming from a lower base. Does this continue? I would like to see this chart updated, and I hope that the cloud entity does do that. And just seeing where the growth is coming from, obviously you have the Internet of Things industry expanding, but notice that digital transformation is also a strong pillar of growth. You can see that the finance sector went in first, and then of course, or at the highest level, and then you can see there's other sectors coming in as well. And so this is going to continue as time goes on. And once again, Alibaba, I do believe, is going to be a major beneficiary of this now that there's less competition. But once again, I have to point out that it's tough to tell exactly how much business Amazon and the other and Microsoft were actually taking from Alibaba. I don't know if that information is available publicly. You guys let me know if you know, but I would suspect that as the cloud business is getting, say, competitive in the US, an area for growth for Microsoft and Amazon would be global growth. So that would be the Southeast Asian market, the Chinese market, the Indian market, et cetera, et cetera. And so, you know, when you're cut off from China, that's a big deal in my opinion. And this is that same presentation where Alibaba was telling you that they're creating their own chips. So yeah, they may not be as powerful as NVIDIA's chips, but does this mean that they're not going to be able to create more and more powerful chips? It absolutely doesn't. And so I think, once again, this just makes China stronger. I don't think that you're going to have the long-term impacts that you think you're going to have. And so I think there becomes a point where the development of the powerful chips that get used in the defense industry, which is what the US is worried about in terms of national security, I think it becomes a non-issue because everybody has access to enough computing power to utilize their use cases for it. And Alibaba continues to remain extremely focused on the cloud business. Alibaba did place Daniel Zhang, who's their top executive, into the Alibaba Cloud business that will spin off from Alibaba. And so he will lead the development and growth of that business. And so, you know, he even said it here where, you know, first of all, he's going to serve exclusively as chairman and CEO of Alibaba Cloud Intelligence Group. So you're seeing that right there. This is their latest press release. And then he goes on to say, you know, looking ahead, I'm committed to strengthening Alibaba's Cloud Intelligence Group's market leadership, and by making cloud computing and artificial intelligence more accessible for businesses of all sizes and industries as they continue their digital transformation. The emergence of generative AI, so now he's talking about all of that new stuff that we've been experiencing, has also opened up exciting new opportunities that Alibaba Cloud Intelligence Group is well positioned to capture. So this guy is at the forefront of a future-focused business that just got easier, or at least a little bit easier to run due to lessening of competition in China. So I want to know what you guys think. Is this a gift from the Americans to the Chinese, specifically to Alibaba? Let me know in the comments below. Now, the other thing that I recently talked about on this video is that whole Bud Light situation has been very fascinating, and I actually put out a video talking about how I think it's not getting any better, and you can actually get access to that video right here.